In this exciting episode, we go back in time to the windswept fields of Anatolia in the 12th century. The Battle of Malazgirt, or Manzikert as it's often called, wasn't just a fight between armies. It was also a turning point that changed the way countries grew. Today, we'll talk about the plans, the leaders, and the surprising things that happened during this fight. Join us as we learn about the story of Alp Arslan and Roman Diogenes at Malazgirt. On August 26, 1071, Alp Arslan, the ruler of the Great Seljuk Empire, and Roman Diogenes, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire, fought the final Battle of Malazgirt. This battle, which ended in a resounding win for Alp Arslan, is often seen as the last fight that gave the Turks access to Anatolia. Start of the battle. In the 1060s, Alp Arslan, who was in charge of the Great Seljuk state, let his Turkic friends move to South Caucasus and further into Anatolia. The Turks lived in cities and places with farms. In 1068, the Roman Diogenes started a war against the Turks. He was able to take back the city of Kochesar, but the Turkic cavalry was too fast for him to catch. In 1070, the Turks, led by Alp Arslan, took over Manzikert, called Malazgirt in Byzantine, and Irkish, which are both near where Mush is now. The Turkish army then took over Diyarbakir and surrounded Urfa, a Byzantine city that they were unable to take over. Aleppo was taken over by Turkish troops, led by Afshin Bey. While Alp Arslan was stationed in Aleppo, he gave some of his cavalry and raider chiefs permission to attack Byzantine towns. The Byzantines were very worried about the growing Turkish invasions and the recent arrival of the Turkish army. This is why they put the famous general Roman Diogenes on the throne. Diogenes left Constantinople, which is now called Istanbul, on March 13, 1071, with a force of about 200,000 people. Some medieval historians exaggerate this figure, claiming that up to 1 million individuals participated. In historical scholarship, the more commonly accepted number is much lower than these figures. Some estimates suggest that the Byzantine army had between 40,000 to 70,000 soldiers, though the exact figure remains uncertain. What is generally agreed upon is that the Byzantine forces were diverse, comprising regular Byzantine troops as well as various mercenaries like Slavs, Goths, Germans, Franks, Georgians, Pechenegs, and Uzes. The army reached Erzurum in June 1071. After arguing about whether to move forward or strengthen their position, they chose to move forward. Diogenes went toward Lake Van because he thought Alp Arslan was either far away or unlikely to fight. He wanted to quickly retake Malazgirt and maybe the nearby Akhlat castle. He sent his advance guard to Malazgirt and then left with the rest of the army. Spies told Alp Arslan how big the Byzantine army was, so he thought that Diogenes' real plan was to march into Isfahan, now in Iran, and break up the Great Seljuk state. Alp Arslan went through Erzin and Bitlis to get to Malazgirt. Some of the older troops were left behind as they were forced to march. He called a meeting of his leaders to talk about how to win battles. In the meantime, Diogenes had already made his plan, which was to let the Turks attack first and then go on the attack themselves. Alp Arslan and his top leaders all agreed to use the wolf trap tactic. Let's look at some interesting things that happened during this fight. Unexpected encounter. The Battle of Malazgirt, one of the most important events in history, was marked by a number of things that that didn't go as planned. First, the start of the fight was almost a happy accident. While Alp Arslan was looking to the south at the Fatimid Caliphate, the Roman Diogenes was looking to the east to strengthen the Byzantine lands. In a strange turn of events, their troops almost met at Malazgirt without any plan to do so. Due to this unplanned overlap and the fact that both sides misunderstood the other's strategic goals, the result of the Battle of Malazgirt was one of the most unpredictable in the history of war. Their forces almost ran into each other at Malazgirt. Strategic importance. The fight of Malazgirt, which happened in 1071, is thought to be the most important fight in the history of Anatolia during the Middle Ages. The way it turned out changed the balance of power in the area and paved the way for the Turks to take over. On the other hand, the Byzantine Empire was already weak from internal civil wars before the fight. This made them vulnerable to outside threats like the Seljuk Turks. After the Battle of Malazgirt, the Byzantine Empire was in a very rough spot. When the military loss was added to the internal fighting that was already going on, a fierce fight for power broke out. Different parts of the kingdom, each with its own favorite candidate, fought hard for the throne. Once a place of peace and wealth, Constantinople's streets turned into a hub of political intrigue and secret plans. Even though Emperor Roman Diogenes had been important in the past, he was now seen as a sign of Byzantine weakness. There were many rebellions and efforts to overthrow the government. The instability of the throne was seen as a great chance by ambitious generals and nobles. Once unbreakable unity in the empire was broken, which led to a number of short-lived reigns. Byzantine defenses were weakened by their constant fighting among themselves, which made them vulnerable to attacks from the outside. This time of instability and fighting within the kingdom was a sign of its slow decline. Changes in Anatolia. The fight was the start of Anatolia becoming more like Turkey. The win gave the Seljuks a chance to take over more of Anatolia, and Turkic tribes started to move into the area. After they won, the Seljuk Turks set up the Sultanate of Rum in Anatolia. It was an important Turkic Islamic state that would last for almost 300 years. The battle caused Turkic groups to move into Anatolia, which led to a mix of cultures and religions. Over time, the area went from being mostly Christian to mostly Muslim, setting the groundwork for the country of Turkey we know today. The Battle of Malazgirt is a very important part of Turkish history. People think of it as a key event that led to the long-term settlement of Turkic and Muslim people in Anatolia, which in turn led to the rise of the Ottoman Empire. Mercy or chivalry, the meeting of Roman Emperor Diogenes and Alp Arslan. After the fight, Emperor Roman Diogenes was taken to see Alp Arslan. This led to a very important conversation. Alp Arslan: "What would you have done if you had caught me?" Roman Diogenes: "I would have put you to death or paraded you through the streets of Constantinople in chains." "My punishment will be a lot worse," said Alp Arslan. "I let you go and forgive you." Alp Arslan handled Diogenes in a way that surprised everyone. Then, Alp Arslan offered Roman Diogenes a peace pact with terms that included giving up some territory. Before Diogenes was let go, he was kept for about a week as a friend instead of a prisoner. As part of the ransom deal, Diogenes had to pay a large amount of cash and give the Seljuks control of certain areas. But Diogenes' return to the Byzantine Empire was not at all a success. Because he signed a peace pact and lost at Malazgirt, people didn't like him. While he was away, things had changed politically in Constantinople. Soon after, he was overthrown in a coup, blinded, which was a common way for Byzantines to disable political foes, and sent to the island of Proti. Not long after that, he died because of problems caused by going blind. Alp Arslan, who used to be Diogenes' enemy, treated him with respect and showed him kindness at the end of his life. There are many stories of revenge in history, but the ones about forgiveness are the ones that really stand out. Picture a wise person standing on top of a hill and seeing two armies fighting below. One fallen leader is brought in front of the winner. In the eyes of the world, justice would call for revenge. Yet, in a move that confuses onlookers, the winner chooses to forget, which shows a great deal of wisdom. This is not just kindness. It is love itself, because by accepting the bad things that were done to him, the winner shows a spiritual truth. True power doesn't come from being in charge, but from being kind. These acts of forgiveness are more powerful than any war cry because they show a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. In the vast tapestry of life, the threads are held together not by revenge, but by compassion. Every person who accepts this truth not only raises themselves, but also shines a bright light that helps other people find truth. So what do you think, dear viewers, in the light of all this speakers? Is Malazgirt mercy or chivalry?